Hi, guys. Welcome to the Deep Focus Show. I'm Clayton.
I'm Aidan.
I'm Taavi.
We're actually going to start a new series today. It is called Spielbergathon, a term coined by our dear Aidan here. We're going to be looking at each of Steven Spielberg's films in chronological order. Every week is going to be dedicated to his films, and possibly at the end, we might rank them from worst to best, depending if we can do that. So, what do you guys think of what do you guys think of Steven Spielberg? I have Shakespeare on the mind for some reason. Yeah, what do you think of him as a director? Your familiarity. Everybody here should be familiar, and if you're not, then just get off this show right now.
I mean, with Spielberg, he's such a kind of like ubiquitous figure of filmmaking that I feel like almost everyone has seen at least a few of his films. I've seen kind of most of his classics as well as some of his kind of more recent stuff. But I think mainly his contribution is kind of this new, very action and adventure kind of nostalgic form of filmmaking, along with people like George Lucas. Very kind of inspired by older films, not kind of like the serious new Hollywood dramas that you saw a lot like right before him. But I think he's really influenced a lot kind of just in the ways films are made, in the way they're told. And he has such a very distinct kind of like narrative style where it's very kind of whimsical, I guess, Spielbergian, they can say, but you know.
The opposite of Lynchian.
Yeah, well, they are kind of very much opposites in a way, yeah.
Yeah. Taavi, what about you?
Spielberg is really great. I've maybe seen like half maybe of his films. Love some of them really, and very influential, of course. And I think Aidan nailed with his description, and I don't think I have anything really to add there. But yeah, love to do the series though.
So I'm just gonna list every Spielberg movie that I've seen. I've only seen 11. I've seen all of the Jurassic Parks, all of the Indiana Jones, including Crystal Skull. I've seen E.T., War of the Worlds, Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can, Munich, and West Side Story. As you can see, I haven't seen some really acclaimed classics that are some of the best in the genre, so they say. I think personally, I think Steven Spielberg, he's very influential, but like I feel like he's overshadowed by some of the movies that he's made in the past, which are considered to be the best of all time. I think he has a nice late period output. A lot of people don't think so. I can't speak for things like I guess it was Lincoln and The Post, which honestly, like, does anybody remember that movie? But as far as like
boring film of all time.
Yeah. I was looking at the Academy Award lists that year, and I saw The Post, and I'm like, man, I didn't even know this existed. But like I said, he's overshadowed by a lot of his classics, because I do think some of his 2000s output is pretty good, like very good, some of the best. But I'm not going to spoil. I want each one of us to go into this series with a pair of fresh eyes. So let's take ourselves back to the year 1971. We're in the 70s. We're in the early 70s, and you notice a TV movie called Duel. What do you guys think of it? Aidan, you can go first, and I guess we can just do the same order that we did.
Yeah, I'll go first. So yeah, Duel is based on a short story by Richard Matheson, who also wrote the screenplay. He's a very well-known author. Most famous work's probably the novel I Am Legend. And here we have Spielberg in his very first film feature. And I think it's very, very solid in my opinion. I really like that already he shows such a great deal of restraint and never showing the truck driver. And just to go over the story, basically it's very simple. Like a white collar worker named David Mann, who's played by Dennis Weaver, is pursued by this behemoth of a tractor trailer, like all the way through California. And it's very kind of tense, atmospheric, very few sets. It's all about the kind of atmosphere, and I really like that. It reminded me of some older Hollywood films that have very kind of low budgets, but they do a lot with them. I was reminded of Detour and The Hitchhiker, to name a couple. But yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I think it's really great. I think there's kind of a commentary going on with like masculinity in the film. You have the white collar worker, the salesman, who's the main character, and he kind of is arguing with his wife. He lives a like very boring kind of suburban um, lifestyle, and he's forced to come head to head with the truck, which is like this symbol of heavy machinery, like the blue collar America. So I think there's kind of a metaphor there where he is taken out of his comfort zone by coming into contact. And you see it in the scene where he goes to the diner in the town. He's an outsider to like rural America. So I kind of see that as the film's metaphor. And I also think the it's saying something about like the way machines have taken over people's lives in many cases, because since we don't see the driver at all, it feels like the intention is to make it so that the truck itself is the villain. It's not the guy driving the truck, even. It's this kind of abstract machine, which I think is very interesting. It also kind of reminds me of Spielberg's later film Jaws in a way, in the sense that you have a villain in this case, or like an antagonist, which is like essentially just a force of nature that just pursues you at all costs. And in one case, it's the killer shark, but here it's the truck who's never explained. It's left very much up to your imagination. And I'm very, very satisfied with the way the film ended. I think any other ending I would have found really just I'm glad they never explain who was driving the truck, like what their motivation is, because I really think that would have killed the film. I think this is the kind of movie where you absolutely cannot know that, because it just would fuck up the movie. But I think it's very strong. I think everything here is here for a reason. I think Spielberg already shows himself to be a great filmmaker, a great storyteller, and I think Matheson shows himself to be a very impeccable writer. And um, yeah, I think just overall, it's just a great film in my opinion.
So I see you're one of those people.
One of who the Duel
The people,
fandom.
yeah, the people who find like silly concepts and makes them even deeper. Okay, here's the thing. I can't say anything because I recently watched the movie Nope, and that movie is brimming with influences from this. But what separates those two movies is that there's an element of intricacy.
Well,
Can I
think
just
that
go?
yeah,
I
go ahead, go ahead.
okay, because here's the thing. I think this movie is silly. Don't I don't think anybody should derive any kind of deeper meaning in it. And you mentioned ending. and I'll get to that. I'm sorry, Taavi, I'm skipping you, but I just have to talk about this because of Aidan's glaringly positive review. I knew nothing about this film going in, except that it's a made-for-TV movie that got some acclaimed and it went to theaters. Um, some theaters decided to pick it up. It brought Steven Spielberg on the map, so there's that. That's really good. It's very low budget, a little bit gritty, and it involved a car. That's the only thing I knew about it. If you told me that Steven Spielberg's movie was about road rage, I'd have thought you were crazy. Um, there is a recent movie in 2020 with Russell Crowe called Unhinged, and I feel like that's taken that movie took this movie and made it even sillier. But it just shows that there's I don't know. I can't find much deeper meaning in this film. Like it's you said the author Richard Matheson. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He wrote the story based on real life events, and it went into Playboy, and I believe Spielberg read that and picked it up from there. So, um, I remember I asked you, Aidan, before watching this movie, if Steven Spielberg's first movie was a silent film, and it's obviously not. But it could have been, and it would have worked. I don't think this is anything more than a creature feature, essentially. You have the flammable truck that's being chased around, which I have an issue with it being flammable, and I'll get to that. You mentioned the ending, but I do like what you said, Aidan, that you don't really get a clear sense of who the person is behind the vehicle, and I do agree that it would kill the movie. You only get like a shot of his boots, and I think your take on it is really interesting, but I just couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't think any deeper than that. Part of me wanted Spielberg to take this film to the next level and make Stephen King's Christine before there was actually a Stephen King. Uh, but I really don't think the public was ready for that kind of supernatural element of the time. But I don't know. I think this is a silly premise. You have even the protagonist is so silly. You have the silliest guy who starred in A Touch of Evil, which we'll be getting to next week whenever we do Orson Welles. His performance in that movie was pretty hilarious, but he's just playing on that hilariosity here. I mentioned it is kind of fitting that he does take that actor from Orson Welles' movie because some of these shots in here actually seems kind of reminiscent of Orson Welles. They have really good tracking shots between the truck and the car, which I really liked. And it's packed with a very Wells-like sense of Dutch angles, so that was pretty cool. One of the things I love and kind of dislike about this movie is how silly not only the protagonist is, but also the side characters. Most notably, there's a scene of this woman at the gas station, and for whatever reason, she has a cage of snakes. And it makes me wonder if maybe Spielberg would use snakes as a gimmick later in the future. I don't know. The scene in the diner is total cheese. It really brings forth that this is a made-for-TV movie. This isn't an actual movie. From especially his inner monologue. Like I've already talked about this, but I do not like narration in movies. I talked about this whenever we went over Kubrick. It's not for me. I think it's lazy writing, especially inner monologues. If you're not doing Shakespeare, it just doesn't work. For example, this is a tool that Ryan Murphy uses in shows like Glee, which is a television series, which is exactly what this thing is. It's made for TV movie. I'm going to keep repeating that because this is a made for TV movie and we should treat it as such. One of the things I wonder, and I'm going to talk about the ending right now. The truck is flammable, right? You see that all throughout the film, but there was no explosion at the end. At first I figured maybe it was because this truck was like a decoy, and perhaps this man is a sinister villain whose intention is to haunt unwilling drivers across the road. Um, but no, this is just Spielberg fucking with us because he wanted it to be a slower burn. The studio wanted there to be an explosion, but he said no. And I really just think he's just winking at the audience here, and it's kind of frustrating, and I find it a little bit annoying. I thought the pacing could have been cut, even though this is an hour and a half long. But given this is a made-for-TV movie, liberties could have been taken in cutting out certain scenes. I wouldn't have minded if this was like an hour and 5 minutes long. I will say I don't mind the beginning with the radio announcer, though. I thought it really set the stage well, and also makes me wish this film was kind of a silent film. But you know what? Some people claim that this is a masterful movie that should be classified as 70s nihilism, and I'm not going to go that far because I don't think there's anything deep whatsoever about this film. I think it's a fun ride. That's about it. That's my review.
Okay, so everything you said was wrong, but okay.
Not at all. No. I will say
Oh.
I wonder if he'll get better. Remember, we're going in with fresh eyes.
Okay, so I'm starting to think that I'm in the middle of both of you, but yeah. So very very simple story. It's this Dennis Weaver is getting chased by this truck, and yeah, I think Clay nailed it. That it's a fun ride, basically. It's very simple, quite a bit of action and thriller elements, and pretty good time, honestly. And I think this has the sort of late night TV film charm to it, which was really nice, and it has this maybe more small budget and maybe a little bit rushed feeling, which I know those are technically negatives, but I really enjoyed there was the deli scene, like, or a cafe, whatever, and it had this sort of Hitchcock element to it, like throwing out the suspense and who is the real suspect around that room. He starts to overthink everything, basically, and tries to like watch everyone's movements and try to figure out this villain. I agree with Aidan that I liked that they never really let you know who is the real villain. You see like a little glimpses that somebody's there really driving the truck, but not really face or anything. Enjoyed the film had quite a bit of like this experimental music behind it. Like, I don't even really know what instruments were sometimes played, but like very tribal sounding or something like that. Couple of scenes that made me like question the film a little. Not wasn't the biggest fan of maybe the school bus scene in the like middle of the film.
Yeah, I did not like that at all.
Yeah.
That's what I mean with the pacing issues.
I will say about that, the film was originally shot without that, and after its original release, that scene was shot later to make it longer. So it was not part of the original film.
Yeah, okay, cool. I knew
Makes
like
sense.
some of the train scene was also added. I didn't know that was added, that scene, but I just also think like the truck comes back to the scene, to the tunnel, and he like rescues the school bus to the road again. But like first, like the Dennis Weaver suddenly tries to leave, and then he just stops and like starts watching what he's doing. Like if I would be the Dennis Weaver fellow who's like being chased by this deadly truck, I would be so out of there so quickly as possible. I didn't know what he was really thinking there, but okay. And then there was the snake lady scene, and like perhaps it's a little spoiler, but like there's the telephone scene. Not sure why the truck driver honked before he the truck hit the telephone booth. Like if the driver really wants to kill David, like he wouldn't honk the car, right? I don't know. Perhaps there are little nitpicks, but
Avi, there's no need in having a character study over this truck. It's just meant for silliness.
Well, I just want to say my interpretation is that the driver is not trying to kill him at first. He's trying to toy with him. Like he's like all the things he does are very like he lets him get ahead and then comes behind, or he stops in front. Like if he just wanted to kill him, that would have happened. I think he's trying to like make him suffer is my interpretation of the film.
yeah, could be. It's a good explanation. I didn't really mind the ending. It wasn't. I don't know. I really had like a neutral feelings about it. Like it just followed the car to a cliffside and dropped with the car, and then it was it. I don't know. I think Aidan liked that the most here, but it was a fine ending. I didn't really had much thought about it, but yeah, I think mostly my review was like it was very suspenseful, perhaps surprisingly even suspenseful at times. Like it's basically just a truck chasing a car. Sometimes I really thought like perhaps the Dennis Weaver guy could have maybe outsmart the truck driver. Like I think he maybe should have gotten easier away sometimes, but I don't know. But I think the Dennis Weaver acting wise, I think he was. I really believed in that situation, and he was starting to get more paranoid, and like he's even his voice starts to shake a little when he gets chased around with high speed. Yeah. I think it's a good first film. It's a fun watch, but there's obviously better stuff coming, and if I can say that, it's 1971.
Yeah, do you guys
Yeah.
think this man has a bright future ahead of him?
Definitely.
I wouldn't say so at this
Yeah.
point.
You want to get into ratings? I can
Sure.
go first.
Yeah.
So I thought a little bit about my rating, but it actually wasn't that hard. Ultimately, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I think it's just,
Whoa.
I really think I don't care what you guys think. I think this film is like pretty much perfect for me.
Wow.
Just in my opinion, I'm giving it a 5.
Hey, that's cool. I mean, that's cool. Yeah, I really hope people in the future don't try to find moral ambiguity in silly films like this. 2.5 out of 5. But it is a nice ride. So fasten your seatbelts.
Yeah, I gave this a good rating of 3.5. Yeah, I think it was I think it's a solid film. Like it was shot in like 2 weeks or something like that, and honestly I pretty much enjoyed all the camera stuff. Even like I think it's really solidly made first film, this Duel. Yeah, it was a pretty good watch.
So it looks like I'm the dissenter. Aidan is the lover, and Taavi is like right in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. What do you guys think? Or do you guys have any information on like how Steven Spielberg reacted to this? What he did in the interim between this and his second feature, which we will be discussing next week.
I know he worked on the international like recut release, and I know I've read from him that he says he still like watches the film regularly, kind of to remind himself of the experience and like how he did his first film and whatnot.
That's good. I'm sure it's a humbling experience for him. I could imagine.
Yeah, I had this on my Blu-ray Spielberg set, so it had some extras, and there was like a Spielberg interview. Probably was around 2000s filmed that interview, but I think he was mainly positive about the film. He was really proud of it, and he's like said it was nuts that they made it in 2 weeks, really, and like said he probably couldn't do it that fast anymore, and perhaps some of them was because of he's like so big now, so he wouldn't like he even admits some of the mistakes in the film and such, and so if there's a new Spielberg film, it's gonna be like obviously a bigger film and used more time, and not gonna say effort perhaps, but in some ways more effort too. But yeah, I think he's positive about Duel.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm a collector, so even though I gave this a 2.5, I probably would still buy it on Blu-ray because I think it's really good for hardcore fans. Although I'm not sure if I'm a hardcore fan. I don't want to get into that yet. It's really nice that he likes this compared to like other directors like Kubrick that we've done in the past who just really loathe their first outing.
Yeah. Definitely.
But I think
yeah.
Spielberg usually is positive about his films, like in most cases.
Yeah. Well, we got anything else to say, or you guys wanna...
I did want to ask you guys, what are some famous Steven Spielberg films that you haven't seen yet? I know Jaws is on that list for me, but
I haven't seen E.T. That's like the big one.
oh wow.
I haven't seen Close Encounters. I think that's pretty big. What is pretty big? Jurassic Park sequel. Is that big enough? I don't know. Like I've seen quite a bit of the big ones. Honestly, Minority Report. I think that's pretty big.
You guys, this was fun. I'm really excited to take a look at his next feature. I'm blanking on the name. Can somebody help me out?
The Sugarland Express.
Sugarland Express. All right.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, we do plan on revamping this channel, making more content. We have a lot of exciting things planned ahead in the future.
Yeah. definitely. And our next project is going to be pretty big indeed. Next week we'll be doing an episode on the filmography of Orson Welles, probably one of the most famous directors ever, I'd say. The man who made Citizen Kane, as well as a whole plethora of later films like Touch of Evil and Chimes at Midnight. So, yeah, I'm very excited for this episode. As many of you probably remember, I rated him as my favorite director in our very first episode. So I'm very, very ready to do it.
Awesome. Shall we reveal our other director too that Taavi picked out that he really likes? It's amongst his favorite.
Yeah. The next ranking after Wells is going to be Terrence Malick. I think it's going to be this month. Some I don't want to say real date yet, I guess, but
yeah, we can't make promises at this point, but that's okay. The Lost Scorsese episode is still out there. We promise. We're just waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for
thank
listening.
you so much for watching.
Comment your favorites. Tell us what you think of Duel.
Only comment if you agree with me, though. Don't comment if you agree with these guys. Remember that.
Touche. Bye, guys. Toodaloo.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.